it's great to hear the memories of that game when England were 3-1 victors over France in the group stage. And the funny thing was, it'd been 12 years since England had last competed at a World Cup, having failed to qualify for 74 and 78 as well. But as I was mentioning there, they actually bowed out even though they didn't lose, because the second stage was another group stage, wasn't it? And you were telling me you went to one of these.
I went to the West Germany game. Yeah. The 0-0.
Yeah.
As they were. That's why I know when I mentioned West Germany. It was actually West Germany then.
Yeah.
I was a pro for 1 year. I'd started my first year at Gillingham, and when it got to the summertime, I decided to go across and see a couple of World Cup games. And England-Germany, it was a 0-0 one. I always remember Keegan and Brooking going on, and they were the big stars at that particular time that had been suffering from injury. And that's always stayed with me, the amount of players that go to World Cup tournaments with carrying something, an injury, and sometimes are they actually ready enough to play? Because Keegan had a great chance in that game that he didn't take, which normally he would have, Keegan.
Like I say, it's a bit balmy that you could go unbeaten and still bow out of a competition. But what a way to sort of begin that campaign with that 3-1 victory over France. It set England up nicely because they won all three of their group games to then advance to the next stage.
Yeah, and most people who were around that time who watched that particular game, well, it was the early goal of so quick, Brian Robson. And it was Brian Robson at his best. He was playing around that time. He's, for younger listeners who didn't see Brian Robson at his very best, he was a terrific midfielder. He was a driving midfielder that got on the 18-yard box. He was competitive in every way, shape or form. One of the true great Man United midfielders, without a doubt. So I remember that goal vividly that he got that day. And there's always been the rivalry comes in many ways, Nat, with England. Certainly because rugby's been big in France for years. Sometimes people argue it's actually bigger than football in France. And that rivalry with the rugby, it's sort of spilt over to the football. Being so close together, as in the distance between us, has been a pretty extraordinary one. And I felt it. A lot of, jokes were made in the dressing room about the sort of English, and obviously I was always saying, well, I played for Ireland, so but they had a rivalry and felt it.
When you look at the team England had then in 1982, we heard from Trevor Francis saying this is more than capable of winning the World Cup. Do you think was he right in saying that? Had it have gone better to plan, and they had actually maybe got they'd had to have won maybe against Spain in that second group stage to have advanced, but could they have gone on to be world champions? Was that team more than capable, that squad?
Look, England have always had great players. It's incredible they've only won one World Cup. You look at the squads and the players, all playing for top clubs. Paul Mariner, who spoke there, Paul Mariner played for Ipswich, who had a really successful team at that time. He eventually moved on to Arsenal. But all of them were top players at many different clubs. England have always had that luxury of having such a depth of players to choose from. And how could you not say they couldn't win the World Cup, because like they said, they come home unbeaten and they've been knocked out.
27 seconds, fastest ever World Cup goal that Brian Robson scored. Quite incredible.